I have some movie lists, and one of the movie lists is the Criterion Collection. That someday I will finish every single movie in the Criterion Collection. And now that I have the Criterion Channel, that is might be possible. And then another list that I have is from Danny Perry. And if you know Danny Perry, I first knew who Danny Perry was from his books, cult movies. But for a grab bag, or was it grab bag? No, it was a Secret Santa, during a show that I was working on in Boston. Joey Infinito had me for the Secret Santa, and he gave me this, and it's turned out to be like one of the most amazing film lists. It's great, like checking off some of the movies that you never even heard of. Hey, dogs. Anyway, they heard something. Anyway, Joey, I've always loved having this, and a little secret, I lost a copy and I bought a new one, but I love it. Anyway, the other list that I have is one that was always in my head. And the reason it was in my head is because it was movies that were written, encapsulated reviews. Like about 5 or 6 movies were featured in this column in one of my mother's women's magazines when I was growing up. She subscribed to McCall's, and monthly there was a column called Lynn Minton's Movie Guide for Puzzled Parents. And what this was it was from the viewpoint of there are lots of movies out there, and you may not really be able to tell from the ratings or the titles or the stars if these movies were worth watching. And so you'd read these movies, and sometimes they were the most bizarre titles, not ones that came from major studios, but she would write these little reviews. Every month I had to read these reviews. And part of it was because the way she wrote was just kind of amazing. She encapsulated the review and would say whether or not it was, appropriate, for your kids or for you. And sometimes she would write because it was like the most disgusting movie of this month. For no one. She'd write for no one. Anyway, some of her reviews were in there, and I couldn't remember the titles of some of these movies. I mean, I would only be going off of a description that she had, and so for years I was trying to find some of these movies, and one in particular was this movie that she described one of the killings in this like brutal movie in such detail that that's all I had to go on, was this particular method of killing somebody from this psychopath. Anyway, so I finally found that movie. It was tough, but I found that movie. But fast forward to today. This is one of the stories that I tell. I probably have 3 stories, and so if you know my stories, you probably know this is one of them. The Lynn Minton's Movie Guide for Puzzled Parents. The last or most recent episode of City on a Hill that I worked on, the writer of that episode, Stephen Day, he and I got along really great, and he sent me a gift. He sent me a copy of Lynn Minton's Movie Guide for Puzzled Parents. Can you believe this? I can't believe this. This is so amazing. This list has always been just in my head, and it was only from those columns. I mean, I had no idea that they had ever assembled this into a book. I always thought maybe I would someday, if I had the money and the time, that I would start buying on eBay every old copy of McCall's magazine just to find this list. So anyway, we had talked about this, and he said that I had been such a valuable resource for him while we were shooting his episode, that he wanted to thank me, and he got me this, and this came in the mail today. So I'm very very happy you can turn off if you find things disgusting, but I do have to read that one review because, yes, it is in here. Please turn this off if you are at all disgusted by things. The thing that was kind of amazing about these reviews is I was a little kid, and I was equally scared and fascinated by like horror movies. And this one, just the review scared the shit out of me, and I would be like shaking behind the sofa reading this column. Anyway, the name of the movie is The Town That Dreaded Sundown. So she writes, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, brought to us by Samuel Z. Arkoff, is the most disgustingly violent and frightening movie of the month. Based upon a true story, it's about a sadistic killer who menaced couples on the Texas-Arkansas border in the late 1940s. In one terrible scene, seriously, turn this off if you don't want to hear. In one terrible scene, the killer casually picks up a young woman's trombone, she's tied to a tree, fixes a knife to it, and slides the knife into her again and again as she moans in pain. We see the madman's tooth marks in a woman's back, a gaping bullet hole in a man's neck, and we're told that the killer was never caught. It's implied he's still walking around down there. The day after I saw this movie, the front pages featured the picture of a present-day mass murderer, and the strong discomfort I had felt during the movie was transferred to reality. I felt jumpy for hours, and the effect on children would be even stronger. Anyway, she's totally serious. So, yeah, that was a disgusting murder. And that's all I had to go on when I was trying to find that movie. I finally found it. The Town That Dreaded Sundown. Currently playing on Amazon Prime, along with its remake. Yeah, even remade it. And I took so long to finally find it. Anyway, Stephen Day, thank you. I now have all of those Lynn Minton's reviews. See if I can find some of those weird movies. Thanks, Stephen.